Welcome to today's deep dive. We have a really compelling stack of sources to work through today.
Oh, we really do.
Yeah, it's centered around this concept called the unified life, from motivation to integration. And what makes this particular stack so engaging is how it just bridges completely different eras.
Right, different disciplines too.
Exactly. I mean, we're pulling from ancient Stoic philosophers like Epictetus and Seneca, and then jumping to modern thinkers like Stephen Pressfield, Robert Greene, Ryan Holiday.
It's quite the mix.
It is. We're even tying it all together with insights from ESPN broadcasters and, of all things, the movie City of Angels.
Yeah, that one surprised me.
Right. But our mission today is to explore a gap that I think you, the listener, are probably incredibly familiar with.
We all are, honestly.
Oh, totally. You know the feeling. You buy the brand new journal, or you lace up the new running shoes, or you sit down to draft page one with just this immense fire.
And then it just fizzles out.
Yes, it vanishes. So today we're exploring that gap between starting an endeavor and actually sustaining it. How do we move from fleeting motivation to a fully integrated life?
That gap is universally understood, and I think the synthesis of these sources offers a very distinct vocabulary for why it exists.
Which we desperately need.
Right, because we often talk about motivation as if it is the ultimate fuel source, like it's all you need.
Yeah, just get motivated.
Exactly. But when you look at these materials collectively, they frame motivation as merely a borrowed engine.
A borrowed engine. I like that.
It's highly effective for getting you to the starting line, but it fundamentally lacks the endurance to carry you across the finish line.
So it's just a spark.
Yes. The common wisdom is that if motivation lights the match, habit is what tends the fire.
Sure, we hear that all the time.
But the argument we are exploring today suggests that habit alone is still insufficient. There is a deeper third element required to make any of our pursuits actually mean something.
And what's that?
Wholeness, or what these thinkers refer to as integration.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the idea of a unified human being is this great philosophical concept, but the way Epictetus actually approaches it, it's a stark ultimatum.
It really is.
It's not presented as some gentle self-improvement tip.
Not at all. Epictetus is uncompromising here. His premise is essentially, you must be a unified human being, either good or bad.
Good or bad, no in between.
None. He frames life as a definitive choice where you either stand with the philosopher or you stand with the mob.
And we should clarify, by philosopher, he doesn't mean.
Right. He doesn't mean an academic in an ivory tower. He means someone who has chosen a deliberate operating system for their life.
As opposed to the mob.
Yes, the mob represents the default reactive state of just letting life happen to you.
Drifting.
Exactly. And Epictetus argues that there is no middle path. There is no such thing as partial enrollment in your own existence.
Partial enrollment.
If you try to keep one foot in both worlds, you aren't achieving balance. You are simply inviting opposing forces to tear you apart.
And I want you, the listener, to think about that for a second. Where in your own life are you only partially enrolled?
It's a tough question.
It really is. Because keeping our options open is practically a modern virtue now. We're conditioned to hedge our bets in our careers, our relationships, our creative pursuits.
We think we're protecting ourselves.
Right. We think, well, if I don't fully commit, I can't fully fail.
Yeah.
But Epictetus is pointing out that this constant hedging splits your energy.
And it leads to this exhausting state of limbo where you're never fully present anywhere.
Which actually leads perfectly into how this ancient philosophy maps onto the modern creative process.
Yeah, Stephen Pressfield's work.
Exactly. Pressfield has this concept of the artist living in a double-layered reality. On one level, the artist exists in the tangible, material world.
Paying the bills, eating.
Dealing with traffic, just normal stuff. But their true integrated being exists in what Pressfield calls the sphere of potentiality.
Right.
It's an orientation toward a reality that hasn't even arrived yet.
It's a profound way to conceptualize it. The artist is physically grounded, but cognitively, they are actively pulling the future into existence.
And Pressfield uses this really unexpected cinematic analogy here. He compares the artist to the invisible angels in the movie City of Angels.
Yes, with Nicolas Cage.
Right. In that film, these angels move through Los Angeles, attending to living. They're completely unseen but entirely real. They operate in a parallel layer of reality.
And Pressfield says an integrated artist moves through the world the exact same way.
Yes. They are quietly attending to a vision or a project that is invisible to everyone else. until the artist finally brings it into the material world.
And that deep internal orientation is what insulates the artist from the noise of the mob we just talked about.
Because they aren't listening to the crowd.
Exactly. They are serving the work, which mirrors Robert Greene's concept of the craftsman.
Right, Greene takes a slightly different angle.
He does. Where Pressfield focuses on the visionary aspect, Greene zeroes in on the meticulous devotion to the craft. He uses Steve Jobs as the prime example.
The story about the fence.
Yes. Jobs inherited a love of building things well from his father, who taught him to paint the back of the fence, even though nobody would ever see it.
It's such a great detail.
It is. And Jobs transferred that level of obsessive devotion to every product he built. The inside of the computer had to be as beautiful as the outside.
Because the craftsman is motivated strictly by the intrinsic satisfaction of doing the work right.
Not by the market.
Right, not by the crowd.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because you have these two ideas.
Yeah.
The artist imagining the unarrived reality, and the craftsman meticulously building the physical object.
And Simon Sinek has a quote that perfectly blends the two. He says, "Pure pragmatism can't imagine a bold future. Pure idealism gets nothing done. To innovate, delicately blend the two."
That is the unified life right there. The artist imagines, but the craftsman executes.
You have to have both.
You do. Pure idealism without the craftsman just leaves you with a notebook full of ideas. Pure pragmatism without the artist leaves you building things with no soul.
So what does this all mean for the rest of us? The people who aren't necessarily inventing the next iPhone or writing a masterpiece.
Right, how does this show up on a random Tuesday?
Exactly. Like at a restaurant or at home with the kids. We have to ground this.
Well, there's a brilliant story from Ryan Holiday's Daily Dad about the late ESPN broadcaster Stuart Scott.
Oh, I love this story. So Stuart Scott was out running errands with his daughters, and a woman walked past and politely complimented him for babysitting his kids.
She entirely meant it as a friendly remark.
Totally innocent. But Scott immediately recognized the hidden insult in that phrasing. The cultural assumption that fathers are just occasional optional figures.
Yeah.
The idea that if a dad is actually present, he must be temporarily covering someone else's shift.
What's fascinating here is how directly this connects back to Epictetus.
How so?
A babysitter performs a function. It's temporary. You clock in, manage the kids, clock out.
Right.
But a father cannot babysit his own children. A father inhabits an identity.
Wow. Performing a function versus inhabiting an identity.
Yes. The unified person does not separate who they are from what they do.
That changes everything. If you're just performing a function, you're looking at the clock.
Waiting to be done.
But if you inhabit the identity, there is no clock. You're fully enrolled.
And people can feel that difference. Zig Ziglar had a profound micro-observation about this kind of presence.
What did he say?
He said a genuine pat on the back is the surest way to knock a chip off a shoulder.
That's great.
It highlights the disarming power of true presence. When you truly attend to someone, you give something that cannot be manufactured. You give yourself.
But getting to that level of integration, it's not easy. And our sources have a pretty challenging view on the obstacles we face, especially regarding adversity.
And false hope.
Right. There's this story from Anthony DeMello about a young man who loses everything. He's penniless. He has no friends left.
He's hit rock bottom.
Exactly. So he goes to a master and asks, "Will I be rich again?" And the master replies, "No. You will get used to being penniless and lonely."
It's jarring.
It sounds so cruel.
It does sound cruel, but it's actually the deepest form of care. The master refuses to let the man organize his life around a false hope.
Because false hope keeps you disintegrated.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, Ryan Holiday recounts a devastating story about Edith Eger, the Holocaust survivor.
Oh, the story about her friend in the camp.
Yes. Her friend had staked her entire survival on a specific date of liberation. She was convinced they would be freed on that exact day.
And when the day passed?
When the day passed and the camp wasn't liberated, her friend died of a broken heart. Hope had been her oxygen. When that external hope collapsed, she couldn't survive.
That is heartbreaking. But it really illuminates the Stoic concept of amor fati.
The love of fate.
Right, which people always misunderstand as masochism, like you're supposed to enjoy suffering.
But it's not that at all. It's about loving what the suffering reveals about your own hidden capacities.
Facing reality without the crutch of false hope.
Yes, because the fear of adversity is actually more disabling than the adversity itself.
But, disintegration usually doesn't arrive as a massive crisis.
No, it's usually very quiet.
It's the tragedy of delay. It's a deferred task. The email we didn't send, the project we decided to start tomorrow.
Seneca issued a warning about this. He said fools are always getting ready to start.
Getting ready to start.
We don't see procrastination as failing. We see ourselves as people who are perpetually about to begin. We end up living in the anteroom of our own lives.
The anteroom. Just sitting in the waiting room of your own potential.
Exactly.
Well, Ryan Holiday offers an embarrassingly simple fix for this. He says, do it now. You can't put off what's already done.
This raises an important question for you, listening right now. What small daily decisions are you avoiding?
The text you need to send.
That page you need to write before checking your phone. Integration is a daily practice of those small choices.
It really is. And to pull this into the long game, there are two powerful quotes from the sources that set the coordinates for this unified life.
Let's hear them.
First, St. Augustine. He said, take care of your body as if you were going to live forever, and take care of your soul as if you were going to die tomorrow.
That is beautiful.
And the second is Mark Twain, who said, the fear of death follows from the fear of life. A man who lives fully is prepared to die at any time.
Those act as perfect coordinates. They aren't contradictions.
How so?
Well, the body is the instrument. If you lose it, you lose your capacity to work in the material world. But the soul is the compass. If you lose that, you lose your direction.
So you need both.
Yes, you need the long, steady patience of the craftsman for the body and the urgent, present attention of the artist for the soul.
So to summarize all of this, Epictetus isn't asking us for perfection.
No, perfection is impossible.
He's asking for wholeness. He's telling us to choose to be the father, not the babysitter.
The craftsman, not the dilettante.
Right. To make our values internal and our commitment unconditional. To get all the way in.
We've talked a lot today about how partial enrollment tears you apart internally. But consider this final thought. What if the most exhausting part of your daily life isn't actually the work itself?
What is it then?
What if it's the hidden energy you spend keeping one foot out the door?
Wow.
Think about it. What would happen tomorrow if you pushed all your chips to the center of the table and finally decided to go all the way in on just one thing you've been half doing?
That is something to really sit with. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Take that thought into the rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.